Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to AMD Meet the Experts. Today, an exclusive first look at b650e and b650 am5 motherboards. In this Meet the Experts, we get an exclusive sneak peek at AMD partners' new am5 b650e and b650 motherboards. We're going to learn all about the new am5 lineup, specifications, and features from asus, asrock, msi, gigabyte, and biostar. This is AMD Meet the Experts, our partner webinar series where you become an expert when you're talking or selling or marketing AMD products. So I want to thank you all for tuning in live. Of course, these Meet the Experts are all made available on demand following the live broadcast. But of course, having you here live is what we love most. And before we get started, I'd like to tell you all who I am. I am Ryan Sagar, and I am the host and producer of AMD Meet the Experts. You can find me there on social media. On your screen is the agenda. We have a number of presentations from our partners, and then we're going to get to some question and answer at the conclusion of those presentations. It's a packed agenda. If you've never been here before, I just want to direct your attention to what's on your screen. You have a number of windows open on your screen by default. Most importantly is that question and answer window on your screen. That's your opportunity to ask us a question in the room, or just give us a comment or some of your feedback. It's only seen by us in the room. We're going to, of course, get to some of those questions at the conclusion of the presentations. We also have a couple of upcoming Meet the Experts webinars that we have on your screen right there for you to join. Next week, we'll be talking about Ryzen Pro and Pluton security, if you're interested in that. So I encourage you to register for that one. And at the end of the month, we have some more going on regarding how AM5, DDR5 memory, and PCIe 5.0 support and pave the way for next-gen gaming experiences. So I encourage you to register for those. And you can find all of the Meet the Experts webinars at the Meet the Experts page, which is also in our resource list. And we have a number of resources related to today's content. Of course, a number of links to our partners, and then, of course, this presentation deck, which you're going to see today. That's all available in that resource list. And before you go, make sure you fill out that survey and give us your feedback. You'll see that at the bottom right of your screen. It's on the screen right there where it says give us your feedback. It'll pop up on the screen at the conclusion of the webinar, but you can open it now and start filling that out. We'd love to get your feedback and, of course, hear what you want to see in future Meet the Experts webinars. But let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. And today our goal is to give you a sneak peek at socket AM5, b650e, and b650 motherboards. Also, just kind of give you an in-depth look at that lineup, specification, and features, of course, from the 5 partners that are with us today, which I'll pop on your screen in just a second. And then how the socket AM5 platform and AM5 7000 series processors deliver that incredible performance. We'll also be talking a little bit about that AMD Expo technology here in just a second, which is, of course, related to all of this. We have a number of speakers. We're going to move quick today. We've got 10 minutes for each one of our speakers. We're joined by, as I mentioned before, asus, asrock, msi, gigabyte, and biostar. We're super grateful to have our partners on today. But before we do anything, we're going to bring on our AMD expert who was with us last week, who's Donnie Woligrowski. I'll have him join us in just a second. And I do want to mention we did do a Meet the Experts on the X670E and the X670, and you can find that at the Meet the Experts page. So if you're interested in that, and I know they'll be kind of talking a little bit about those today, but mainly the focus here is going to be on the b650E and the b650. But before we pass it to our partners, let's have Donnie Woligrowski join us to tell us a little bit more about these AM5 motherboards. Donnie?
Thanks, Ryan. All right, I'm going to be really quick. Just want to remind folks, where everything sits with this new platform. So once again, we've got a brand new socket. It's an LGA socket, so there's no pins on the CPU. We built really a future-proof socket with a lot more power delivery if it's needed, up to 230 watts. Remember, Ryzen's really efficient. You can run it in eco mode if you want to use air coolers, but you have that flexibility there, and you can use last-gen coolers. these are future-looking motherboards, DDR5 and PCR5 on some of the boards. We'll talk about that in a second. And like I talked about, that CPU compatibility. The good news, the B series motherboards we're going to be talking about today, we'll be starting from, we're anticipating the $125 US price point. So that's a great, entry-level price point. I'm going to go into PCI 4 and 5 and in another slide. I'm not going to go too far into it. All of these use DDR5 for longevity, so they're really planned for to grow in the future with you. And we do have support for this socket planned through at least 2025, potentially beyond. And just to get a little dig in there, our competition, Raptor Lake, will be on a motherboard that has no future expansion. So if you buy a Raptor Lake right now, your board will end support for that after Raptor Lake. So that's something to think about. Available now, we have the X670 boards, X670e and X670, and available this month will be the b650 series, which we're talking about today. From a high level, very exciting what we can do with the b650s here. Really it's about less expansion than the X670, but still a lot of performance, a lot of power. So all of these chipsets are overclockable. You're looking at about half the super speed USB ports on a 650 class versus an X670. You're looking at half the SATA ports, but with a B650 Extreme, you can still get all of that PCIe Gen 5 goodness. So the full 16 lanes specifically for graphics, and the full 8 lanes to support NVMe storage, which really is exciting that we can double the speed of storage. So you're not losing anything from a PCIe Gen 5 perspective with the B650 Extreme. And then for folks who just don't need that extreme bandwidth, who are just happy with an entry board, maybe not very as focused on graphics, we do have the B650 non-extremes out there. And once again, just before we go in here, we have a new overclocking technology called Expo. So this is a new standard. You can look for that sticker that you see on the top left there on the memory kit. And really, just think of this as an alternative to XMP, but this is an open and free standard. So it's much more transparent. It's easier to implement. We've got a lot more tweaks and levers we can pull on this kind of memory, and it's a great option for AMD. Although our partners do still support XMP for their board. So just wanted to point that out. And that's all I'm going to say today. I'm going to hand it over to the partners. Thanks very much, Ryan.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Donnie. Appreciate having you on here today and talking all about AM5 and, of course, that amazing new technology. First up, we have from Asus, the product marketing manager, JJ Guerrero. JJ, take it away from your studio.
Thank you so much. So I'm really excited to be able to go ahead and talk about, of course, how Asus, the world's #1 motherboard manufacturer, is supporting, of course, this fantastic AM5 product launch with our new B series based motherboards, and of course, continuing to be able to enable, I think, even for more PC DIY builders, taking advantage, of course, these awesome 7000 series based CPUs, right? And everything that Zen 4 is offering. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it. First and foremost, what you're going to be seeing right here is that we are going to be offering 3 different series in terms of our motherboard lineup. In terms of this lineup, it's going to be representative of the RG Strix, the Tough Gaming series, and our Prime series. And you'll actually be seeing very shortly as well as a Pro Art edition. So this will be similar to what we're going to be offering on our X series based motherboard lineup. And so first up, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into the ROG Strix. So this is going to represent our flagship gaming series for the B series based chipset. And here we're going to be comprising 4 different motherboards, as you can see, including the b650e as well as one b650 based model. And we're going to have, of course, on the high-end side, the Dash E, the Dash F, really a perennial community favorite, extremely popular in terms of kind of hitting that sweet spot. Offering a Dash I, which is also going to supplement already the Dash I that we offer on the X670 side of the fence. And then, of course, a very popular white silver themed baseboard for those that are looking kind of for that bold and bright aesthetic when it comes to PC DIY based builds. And just as a general recap, as Ryan noted earlier, and Don talked about as well, we of course do have our X670 AB boards, and here you can kind of see how that comparison is very similar in terms of the board stack E, F, I, and then A as well. And then, of course, rounding out the top end position will be the ROG crosshair for the X670 chipset. And just in case you're wondering where that differentiation occurs, as Don noted, right, really it's all about if you're looking to take things up to the next level in terms of expansion. So things like, for instance, like USB 4, 12 to 13 USB ports, more advanced OC options, and of course, more expansion support for PCIe Gen 5 on graphics, as well as M.2 based SSDs. But with that, let's go ahead and take a closer look here at the Dash F SKU. So the Dash F, as I noted, is really a community favorite. It really is very popular in terms of users that are looking kind of for that sweet spot based board. You can see right here a big upgrade compared to the b450 and b550 generation series of boards in terms of the rear I/O, where we're going to be offering, you actually see here, 12 total ports, including 20 gigabits and 10 gigabits and 5 gigabits USB 3, 2.5 gigabit LAN, and then as well as Wi-Fi 6E with Bluetooth. You have, of course, that integrated HDMI and display port to be able to leverage, of course, that integrated Radeon-based graphics. And in terms of the power delivery, all of these boards that we're going to be focusing on do feature our ASUS Team Power Stage design philosophy, which has really been proven over multiple generations to give you stable and reliable experience, regardless of whether you're talking about stock or overclocked. You'll see, of course, support here for PCIe Gen 5 on the graphics, as well as up to 3 M.2 SSDs, including one which would be a Gen 5 based SSD. Our increased higher quality audio design compared to our more entry, prime, and tough gaming series with the Supreme FX audio codec and the 4080, as well as the Savitech audio amp, and then our very kind of dynamic and rich Sonic Studio software suite. One other thing that I want to call out right there is you're going to see a little bit of a button, and this is another innovation that ASUS has kind of pioneered the industry with, which is going to be our Q release technology. It is present on the ROG Strix ATX-based SKUs, so on the E, the F, and the A, they all feature this great Q release ejection design. Now, one thing I do want to go ahead and touch on right here, which is pretty nice, is going to be this little header right here, which will be at the bottom of the motherboard. You're going to see all of the ATX-based SKUs do support our Thunderbolt 4 add-in card. So if you're looking for that flexibility and that functionality to jump up to the highest level of performance when it comes to I/O connectivity, you can easily add that ASUS expansion card to these boards if you're looking for even a higher level of throughput. But keep in mind, pretty much almost on all the boards, with the exception of one Prime, you're looking at a minimum of at least having one 20 gigabit enabled port, and then many 10 gigabit and 5 gigabit enabled ports, so quite a bit of I/O support. Moving further here, let's go ahead and jump into the Mini ITX base board. With the Mini ITX, it's very similar to our higher end, of course, X670e base board, but you drop down and you still don't really compromise here. Still quite feature rich, where you're going to have 2, 4, 6 ports that are going to be on there in the rear. So in total of 8 ports that are going to be present, 2.5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6E, along with the Bluetooth, integrated display output support, PCIe Gen 5 for, of course, graphics, as well as M.2 SSD, with 2 M.2 SSDs being supported, and similar to the same high-grade audio design with the Supreme FX audio implementation, that ALC 4080, along with the Savitech amp. You're also, of course, maintaining our advanced kind of fan control functionality with Fan Expert in the UEFI, as well as within the operating system environment. Now, moving that further here, if we go ahead and touch on maybe some of the performance-centric items that I think are important, we are going to be, of course, maintaining really outstanding experience when it comes to DDR5. You're going to have support for Expo, as well as additional profile support to be able to leverage things like XMP and our AMP technology. And specifically on the Dash I, as well as on the Dash E, you're going to see really impressive features that we offer on our higher-end X670 series, such as our dynamic OC switcher, which, again, we innovate in the industry with, offering you the best of both worlds, where you can have per-core CCX-based overclocking, as well as PBO-enabled overclocking at the same time, and free of any type of triggers that you have to run within the operating system. They can all be dialed in with the UEFI. You can actually control the actual response value in terms of the duration. It's a really, really awesome option if you're looking to take advantage of all the performance benefits that Zen 4 brings to the table, from single-threaded to multi-threaded performance. Also new is going to be our CoreFlex technology, which allows you to even further maximize performance at lighter loads, and you can go ahead and take advantage of custom algorithms that we have for temperature, current, and voltage. And another really cool thing for a wider series of motherboards is you'll see a special option that we call PBO enhancement. This helps to modify specific parameters that are tuned to our motherboards and our topology, as opposed to having users kind of have to always figure out these variables. And we've also gone ahead and added in even targeted thermal limit values to be able to further allow for a greater level of customization for users and how they want to be able to define the performance and the temperature targets for their system. Moving into the Tough Gaming series here, a great series of boards. Really, it's going to be two boards, either essentially one with Wi-Fi or one without Wi-Fi. You can see that great, clean, monochromatic color scheme maintained also from the x670 series of motherboards there. And taking a look there, you have large, robust VRM heatsinks, team power design. Looking at the rear eye, you've got 2, 4, and 6. So again, minimum of 8, and that's pretty much what you're going to see on all the ATX boards, at least 8, 20 gigabits and 10 gigabits, that 2.5 gig Wi-Fi 6E. Tough Gaming isolated audio design. The drop down here is PCI Gen 4 for the primary graphics, which is still not going to be restricting to any current graphics card generation. And then PCI Gen 5 support, though, is present, going to be for your M.2 base SSDs. Moving over into the micro ATX model, you mirror pretty much the same design specifications. You just drop down in terms of the form factor, lose a little bit of that supplemental expansion, but you still maintain quite a performance-based design, quite feature-rich, again, still with 20 gigabits, in the high number of ports, and dual heat sinks for, of course, your M.2 SSDs, and also Gen 5 support for that M.2 SSD. Now, lastly here, when we get into the Prime series, the Prime series is a great series for kind of a wide range of users, whether they're going to be creators, whether they're going to be professionals, hybrid users, productivity, whatever it might be. We're going to have 3 models, as you see right here, with an ATX and 2 MATX-based SKUs. The MATX SKU is essentially the same models, just, again, one Wi-Fi without Wi-Fi. And then here you can see that how that stands in comparison to the x670. And I also make note of these 2 new x670s here on the right-hand side, which weren't shown off at the prior MTE. So those are x670 non-E based SKUs. With the Plus, again, nice I/O-based configuration with 10 gigabits and 5 gigabits on there. Still good quality power delivery solution with still dual contact 2-stage base heatsink design, flexible M.2 heatsink that can be moved in either position, depending actually on your M.2 SSD's location, and you still support PCI Gen 5 support and PCI Gen 4 for the primary graphics. And do keep in mind that in terms of kind of a base level of functionality for the DIY experience, we still maintain on all the ATX-based boards AIO pump headers, as well as our diagnostic QLEDs, and of course, at least three ARGB headers, which can be multiplex for more if you're looking for more flexibility and customization for ARGB and RGB-based lighting. Taking a look here at the micro ATX SKU, very similar. You just drop it down again to that smaller form factor, still solid connectivity. And I think this really is the hallmark of what B series for this generation is going to be affording users. A great foundation to be able to give you a lot of I/O and a lot of flexibility for your builds, especially in comparison to the prior generations. All right. Again, recapping there, you can see that we're ending out, even on that entry side, you're still maintaining these nice halo points of having 2.5 gigabit internal Type-C, and of course things, again, like another industry innovation with USB BIOS flashback technology. All right, that wraps up our B series based presentation. Of course, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat, or also make sure to go ahead and check out the corresponding links which are featured.
A lot of great information there, JJ, and we do actually have a number of questions in the question and answer for you, so we'll answer a few of those live, but I just want to mention that, JJ, if you want to go there and just kind of start answering those questions, a number of those are coming in, and don't be shy. If you got a question, make sure you ask it now. Thanks so much, JJ. Next up, we have Asrock, and of course, Edwin is going to be joining with the Asrock, the product manager there. So, Edwin, feel free to take it away.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. So, hello everybody. I'm Edwin from asrock, and it's very excited to be here to introduce you to all of our B650 series motherboards. So let's dive right into it. So first up, this page is all of our B650e and B650 motherboard lineup. So for the flagship, we have the B650e Tai-Chi. For the enthusiast segment, we have the Steel Legend and PG Riptide Wi-Fi. Both of these two motherboards will be supporting Wi-Fi as standard. For the mainstream, we have B650 Live Mixer and Pro RS. The Live Mixer is a sort of a new lineup for us and for this generation, and we will have a more detailed sort of launch sort of event and later this month. So for now, it is just a sneak peek for you guys. For the value board, we have the B650 PG Lightning. This one is also a sort of new lineup for us, and I will be giving you some details later on. For the micro ATX, we have the B650M PG Riptide. And also for the inferior series, the ITX version, we have the b650e PGITX Wi-Fi. So for the micro ATX motherboard, this one will actually also have another version that will be supporting Wi-Fi. Just good to let you guys know. So you guys might be asking is that what's new on our asrock am5 motherboards. So first up will be, of course, the powerfulness of the motherboard. So the b650e Taichi, this one is our flagship for the b650e segment. And this one, of course, we want to sort of give it a lot of power. We don't want the motherboard to be one of the limiting factor for the CPU performance. Like you guys know, the AMD Ryzen 7000 series processor is actually very, very powerful. So that's why you also give this motherboard a lot of power phase. 24 plus 2 plus 1 is the total power phase for this motherboard. So it is plenty enough for all those daily applications for the gaming and also for the overclocking. Next up, for the Taichi motherboard, that will be for the b650 Taichi, and also the x670e Taichi and Taichi Carrara will be supporting the USB USB 4 Type C. For the USB 4, this will be actually very, very similar to the Thunderbolt technology. So just to let you guys know. Next up, for our asrock b650 motherboard and also b650e motherboards, almost all of our am5 motherboard will be using the 8-layer PCB design. So for the 8-layer PCB, of course, you guys will know that is actually benefits a lot on the OC, the overclocking, and also the thermal performance. So all of our the E SKU motherboard, that's X670E and B650E, will be using 8-layer PCB. So for the ATX motherboard, will be also using 8-layer PCB. And another thing is for all of our am5 motherboard and for the E SKU, the Extreme series, will be also using the server grade low loss PCB. So what this will benefit is that it will sort of improve a lot for the DRAM OC and also supporting the PCI Gen 5. That's for the M.2s and for the graphics card. And another special thing is for the Mini ITX, the b650e Mini ITX switch. This one will be using a 10-layer PCB and also low loss PCB. So a very, very, very good platform for the small form factor if you guys want to looking for a very stable, very powerful, and also a lot of OC for your small PCs. Next up, I want to sort of highlight is that all of our am5 motherboard will be supporting PCIe Gen 5 M.2s. So as you guys know, that PCIe Gen 5 is a very, very new sort of new spec for this generation, and we as well also want to benefit all of our buyers. So we designed on every am5 motherboard, that's including eSKU and non-E SKUs, will be supporting PCIe Gen 5. So this is not just a self-claiming asrock self-claiming BS. So the PCIe Gen 5 signal integrity is actually sort of approved and certified by a third-party certification lab. So this is to ensure the PCIe Gen 5 signal is very stable. Next up. Yeah. So again, PCIe Gen 5 is a new spec and also a very, very new spec for the SSDs. So inside asrock, actually done a bit of research, is that PCIe Gen 5 SSD is actually pretty hot. So we've done a few testings, if you can see from our screenshot. So this is a experiment using PCIe Gen 5 SSD, and this is running on Crystal DSMARK. So within sort of a few passes, around 2 to 3 passes, the PCIe Gen 5 SSD actually become very hot to around 74 degrees. So this is actually enough to trigger the thermal throttling. So you can see the performance, the read and write performance is actually very, very low. So to cure that, ASRock has specially designed a M.2 fan heatsink. So you can see on the picture on the left-hand side of the PowerPoint. So this is a specially designed fan heatsink to to cure the thermal issue for the SSDs. And the result is actually very, very nice. So you can see here, same experiment using the fan heatsink. The thermal, the temperature actually dropped to around 53 degrees steadily. So the performance, you can see the read and write performance actually improved a lot. So it is a sort of a must for the Gen 5 SSDs. And the good news is that this fan heatsink is actually free bundled on below 3 models: the X670e Taichi, the Taichi Carrara, and also our mini ITX motherboard, the b650e PG-ITX Wi-Fi. So on these 3 motherboards, it's actually free bundle. And for the other motherboards that ASRock produce, it is actually available as an optional accessory. So if you guys really want to run a PCI Gen 5 SSD and you don't want to have the thermal issue, you can consider to buy the heatsink from ASRock. Next up, I think this is this is the b650 PG Lightning. This is the PG Lightning is actually a new lineup from ASRock. So this is a new entry-level motherboard from us. But when I say entry, is actually this motherboard is actually very, very capable. So you can see on the picture the highlights for the entry motherboard. This is actually a very, very robust design for the VRMs. It actually has 14 +2 +1 power phases and also a lot of USB ports. Next up, for thermal, we have a very, very big heatsinks, and also this motherboard is an 8-layer PCB design. So again, improve the thermal performance. And a lot of USB, just as I mentioned. And lastly, on this entry motherboard, it has a pre-installed IO shield it's kind of a friendly design for all those DIYers. Yep, I think this is the last page of my PowerPoint. So yeah, back to you, Ryan.
Hey, thank you so much. I know we've got a couple questions for you in that question and answer. One was specific to that heat sink and availability worldwide. So if you go there and start answering some of those questions, and of course we'll get to some of these live at the end of the presentation. We're doing good on time, so appreciate my first 2 speakers. But let's next up have MSI with Michael to join us, the EU product marketing man at MSI. So Michael, take it away from your studio.
Thanks, Ryan. First of all, good to be back in another AMD Meet the Experts webinar. In case you haven't joined 2 months ago, when we also had our presentation of the X670 motherboards, I'd quickly like to recap a little bit about the X670 motherboards that was shown back then. So this is our X670 lineup. So in our Pro series of the Pro X670-P Wi-Fi, and then we have 3 different X670 Extreme boards. So those are the MEG X670e Carbon Wi-Fi, the MEG X670e Ace, and the MEG X670e Godlike. Now we're of course expanding our lineup quite a bit further with the B650 series. So this is our full AMD AM5 product stack with the different segments we have. So the MEG is our enthusiast segment that we already had the Godlike and Ace for the X670. The MPG segment, we're expanding quite a bit with 3 different models based on the B650 chipset. And those are the Carbon Wi-Fi, the Edge Wi-Fi, and the Mini ITX Edge Wi-Fi. MAG series, we didn't have any models in the X670 series, but there are 2 new models now in the MAG series based on the B650 chipset, and those are the Tomahawk Wi-Fi, which is an ATX port, and the Mortar Wi-Fi, a micro ATX port, and then the Pro series are expanded by 2 more models based on the B650 chipset, and those are the -P Wi-Fi and the M-A Wi-Fi, and the M-A Wi-Fi is a micro ATX motherboard as well. This is a brief overview of some of the upgrades we made compared to the B550 MSI motherboards, the previous generation. Of course, we're transferring over from DDR4 and PCI Express Gen 4 to DDR5 and PCI Express Gen 5. As the processors got more powerful this generation, we also upgraded our VRM to make sure people can take full advantage of that increased power of the Ryzen 7000 series processors. With DDR5 and PCI Express Gen 5, signal integrity on the motherboard is becoming increasingly important, and that's also why our boards in this generation have more layers, more server-grade PCBs, all to ensure the signal quality is good enough for both high-frequency DDR5 memory, including very high overclocking on it, as well as PCI Express Gen 5. With the upgraded power design, we also upgraded our thermal design, more about that layer for specific motherboards. And in terms of connectivity, for b650, we're still using USB 10 gigabit per second and Wi-Fi 6, and now with b650, we're upgrading to USB 20 gigabit per second, as well as Wi-Fi 6E that also supports the 6 gigahertz frequency band on Wi-Fi. As I mentioned, one of the major upgrades that we made in the b650 series is our power design. Really to get that maximum performance out of the Ryzen 7000 series. Our Carbon is equipped with 1680 amp smart power stages. Edge has 14 times 80 amp. Mini ITX Edge still is very capable of VRM with 880 amp smart power stages. Tomahawk is 14 times 80 amp. Mortar 12 times 80 amp. And even the Pro models, the ATX board has 1275 amp. And the Micro ATX model has 855 amp. Interesting to note here is that actually our Carbon, our ATX Edge model, and our Tomahawk have a stronger VRM than our Godlike had in the X570 generation. That's how far the VRM is upgraded compared to the 500 series motherboards. And also we thoroughly tested the Ryzen 7000 series and even our most entry-level b650 board, the Pro b650M-A, can easily run even the Ryzen 9 7950X. Of course, another upgrade with this generation is AMD Expo technology. Of course, we're supporting this on our full AM5 lineup. And additionally, all our AM5 motherboards are also capable of running AXMP, basically meaning you can run your XMP modules on AMD platform as well without any issues. So if you happen to already have a DDR5 memory kit with an XMP profile, it's still perfectly capable of running on an MSI AM5 motherboard. What is new in our 600 series motherboards on certain models is our patented screwless M.2 shield Frozr heatsink design. And this is on b650, for example, available on the Carbon model. And this allows you to completely install the SSD without any screws. So that's both the M.2 shield Frozr heatsink that you can take off without any screws. And underneath there is also the easy M.2 clip. So to install the M.2 SSD in the slot itself, you also don't need any screws. So no tools and no screws needed to install an SSD in a screwless M.2 shield Frozr motherboard. Then let's dive into the different models that we have within our b650 series. Starting with the MPG b650 Carbon Wi-Fi, our highest end offering in our b650 lineup. It comes with extended heatsink as well as a heat pipe through that heatsink. It has 16 smart power stages, 80 amp each. It offers Gen 5 support on the primary M.2 slot, and that's also the one that is equipped with the screwless M.2 shield Frozr. It has both 2.5 gigabit LAN and Wi-Fi 6E support, as well as support for Lightning USB 20G. Heading over to our MPG b650 Edge Wi-Fi, also supports extended heatsink design. It has 14 smart power stages, 80 amp each. It offers PCI Express Gen 5 on the primary M.2 slot. On the I/O, you will find a lot of USB, of course, 2.5 gigabit LAN and Wi-Fi 6E, as well as Lightning USB 20G and Audio Boost 5 technology. Then one of my personal favorites, I'm a real mini ITX guy, and I actually have this one right next to me. So this is our MPG b650i Edge Wi-Fi. It has the same look and feel as the ATX model. In this situation, it comes with 8 phases for the V-core, for the CPU. All of them are 80 amp. It has Lightning USB Gen 4 on the PCI Express slot, as well as the M.2, and it offers both 2.5 gigabit LAN and Wi-Fi 6E, as well as USB 20G and Audio Boost 5 technology. Then moving over to our MAG b650 Tomahawk Wi-Fi. I also have that board right here. This is always one of the favorites in our lineup. Very popular model, so I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for this specific model. It supports the extended heatsink design. It has 14 smart power stages, 80 amp each. Heading over to the I/O, you get both 2.5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6E connectivity, as well as USB 20G on the Type-C connector. It supports Audio Boost 5, and it also has a flash BIOS button right there in the corner. Then we have its smaller brother, the Micro ATX MAG b650M Mortar Wi-Fi. It also comes with extended heatsink design. It has 12 ADM smart power stages, 2.5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6E, USB 20G on the Type-C port, Audio Boost 5, and a flash BIOS button as well. So if you want to build in a smaller form factor, this is a very good alternative, for example, for the Tomahawk. And then our Pro series, we have two more models. First is the Pro b650-B Wi-Fi, is a full ATX model. Comes with extended heatsink, and underneath it has 12 75M smart power stages. It supports PCI Express Gen 4 on both the Time16 slot and the M.2. It also comes with M.2 Shield Frozzer on the primary slot, and on the I/O you will find 2.5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6E, as well as a flash BIOS button. And then to our final model, let me see right here, is our Pro b650M-A Wi-Fi, so micro ATX motherboard. Comes with extended heatsink design. It has 8 55M smart power stages underneath. It offers PCI Express Gen 4 on both the PCI Express slot and the M.2. It also has M.2 Shield Frozzer on the primary M.2 slot, and on the I/O you will find plenty of USB ports, 2.5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6E, and it also comes with the flash BIOS button right there in the corner. So that was our MSI am5 lineup. So now also expanded with the b650 chipset-based motherboards. If you want to know more about the different models that we have, actually tomorrow we will have another MSI Insider live stream. It starts at 4 p.m. CEST, so that's 1 hour earlier than the time the AMD Meet the Expert session started today. And there we'll go into full details of all the different models and show you all the ins and outs. So if you're interested, check it out. We'll be live on YouTube, the MSI Gaming channel, but also Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, whatever platform you prefer. And you're very welcome to join to find out more about these motherboards. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael. And I encourage everybody to check out those streams that Michael and his team does on YouTube. And I'm a little bit disappointed today that we didn't have your mascot join us. I know the last time we had the MSI mascot join us. So hopefully tomorrow when you're streaming, you'll have that MSI mascot joining. But let's go ahead and turn things over to our next presenter. And Michael, I just want to let you know you've got a number of questions that are in the question and answer. So please go there and start checking out those questions that are coming in. We're also joined by Gigabyte. Kevin is with us today, the product marketing manager with Gigabyte. He got to the studio early for this, so appreciate him getting up extra early and getting to the studio for this. I'll turn it over to you, Kevin.
All right, Ryan, thanks a lot. And very glad to be here. Very excited to talk about our new b650. And I do want to give a shout out to our studio guy, Mikey. He also had to come in with me, so it's not just me alone. Moving on. So our AMD AM5 lineup, everyone already knows that it's going to comprise of our b650e and b650. And basically, we divide these two into segments into basically next-gen ready and then mainstream gaming. So for our Gigabyte lineup, we break it into Aorus for gaming, and this is designed for our high-performance gaming, suitable for the PC enthusiasts. Gigabyte Gaming, which is our all-around kind of mainstream gaming, and Gigabyte Aero, which is our content creator-focused line. So for the Aorus lineup, we will be bringing a lot of models, 6 ATX, 3 micro ATX, and 1 ITX. So with these, with this different segment, we have our Tachyon, which is going to be our high-end overclocking, our Master, which is our flagship, and then later on we'll be bringing in a USB 4 version of the Master, followed by our Pro AX, Elite AX, and Elite, and these are going to be more of our mainstream gaming sort of lines. For micro ATX, we will be offering a few solutions, which are basically just smaller versions of the ATX boards. And then our fan favorite is going to be our Aorus Ultra ITX version. For Gigabyte Gaming, we'll be having the Gigabyte X Gaming X AX and Gaming X, and also the Micro ATX version, which will be Gaming X AX as well. These are both fan favorite models, and we do anticipate a lot of excitement bringing them back. You can see the color scheme is a little bit more muted, but a lot of people do like to go for this. For our content creator focus line, it's going to be our Aero G with the white color scheme again. So our flagship boards will be offering 16 twin digital VRM design. This was with 105 power stage. And this will help you give your CPU the maximum headroom for the most performance that you can get. We combine this, we have a new feature called Gigabyte Active OC Tuner, and combining this with AMD PPO, you can get the most performance you can out of your CPU, pushing it to the maximum levels. And as Ryan mentioned earlier, our motherboards will be supporting both AMD Expo and XMP. And one of the things that we've seen with the newer graphics card is that graphics cards are getting bigger and bigger as technology progresses. And one of the things we added is SMD armor on our PCIe slots. And this increases the shearing strength up to 2.2 times. And this will help you kind of make sure your motherboard can support your graphics card. So one of the things that we know is that when you're pushing a lot in your system, your CPU is getting more powerful, your PCIe storage is getting more powerful, your RAM is getting more powerful. And what we've done is we've increased a lot of our thermal designs. So you can see in the picture that our VRMs, they're fully covered with the heat sinks. We have a M.2 Thermal Guard 3, and this is our enhanced thermal solution also for your M.2 storage. This is capable of handling PCIe 5, again, with the high performance and the high heat generation. We have an 8mm heat pipe, and this heat pipe is a direct connecting to the heatsink as well. And this means that you have the most efficient heat transfer that you can, along with a thick thermal pad for efficient heat transfer as well. So this is, mentioned it earlier, the Thermal Guard 3. And this is a specially designed heatsink that we have covered with our nanocarbon our coating. And this helps basically just keep it running at the top speed possible. So one of the new features that we have added to AM5 is going to be PCIe Easy Latch, or Easy Latch in general. And this is to help improve the DIY experience for all the PC builders. So PCIe Easy Latch, it's a little hard to see in the graphic, but this is basically an extended latch on your PCIe slot. It makes it easier for people to install, upgrade, and remove all their graphics cards. If you're like me, you have really big fingers, you're a little bit clumsy. I'm always hitting my fingers on the different components and heat sinks and everything. So the Easy Latch definitely makes it a lot easier to reach. And another feature we have is the Easy Latch Plus. This is on the M.2 slot, and this is a small little switch you can use. If you tuned into our X670 stream, you have seen this in action, and it's basically, it's a toolless design. You don't have any screws or anything, and you can just pop your M.2 drive right in, and to remove it, you just flip the switch and it pops right out. Now we have a different version, which is Easy Latch Non-Plus, and this is also very, very easy. You just flip that switch back, pop it in, and then that's it. Easy installation. So one new feature that we've included on all of our B650 lineup is going to be QFlash Plus, and this allows you to upgrade your BIOS without needing to install any other components. All you need is your 24-pin power and your 8-pin power to your CPU, and we have a dedicated slot on the back of the motherboard that all you need to do is press the QFlash button, and it will automatically update your BIOS. Oops. And we do have things that we consider to be the premium user experience, and this is going to be RGB Fusion 2. This will allow you to control all the RGB lighting effects on your motherboard, different modes, different colors, along with some LED light strip support. And this one I'm actually pretty happy about is going to be our Gigabyte Control Center. So, anytime that you're doing driver installation, hardware installation, you got a bunch of different stuff going on. And sometimes it might not be that easy to figure out the right one and get the correct version. So with new and improved Gigabyte Control Center, we've created one platform which wraps up everything into one. And you can go there, it'll automatically detect your Gigabyte hardware and show you the current version and your next version as well that you can update. Also integrated in there will be your RGB control and your fan control and other information about basically your system. So you can set your custom fan curve and your RGB lighting. We've also improved our UEFI BIOS design. There's an easy mode and advanced mode. Easy mode kind of just optimizes all the settings into one, gives you one display dashboard where you can see all the information very easily and make all your tuning adjustments. And you also have a favorites tab now, which you can set your different favorite settings. You don't have to go digging through the different menus, and it makes it a lot easier. And last but not least, I'd like to cover our multi-key design. And this is a dedicated button that you can see. It's going to be on our b650 motherboards. You can program it into different settings, such as your RGB switch. You can turn off all the lighting effects. You can go boot directly into BIOS, and you can also boot directly into safe mode. So next to me, I actually have our b650 Elite and our b650 Aero. And our Aero is going to be our creator dedicated motherboard. You can see it's got the white color scheme and everything. B650 Elite, this is kind of my personal favorite because I think it sits at the sweet spot of everything that a gamer will be looking for with all the features that you would need. And that wraps it up for me.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us, and we've always appreciated having Gigabyte on here. I do want to mention it was brought to my attention in that resource list where we have a number of things. That presentation slide deck that was in there, I've just updated it. It was a really big file, so you're going to have to hit refresh to see all the partner slides in the resource list right there. So again, in the resource list at the very top there where it says slides, if you want to see all these slides, you're going to have to hit refresh before you download to get that all the partner information on that. Next up, we have Annie, who's going to be joining us from Biostar. Annie, go ahead and take it away. And I think we still have you on mute, Annie. So let's have you come off mute and get you started.
Hi. Thank you so much, Ryan. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Thanks for being here. I'm Annie Shi, Biostar Sales Manager. It's fantastic to be able to join everyone here. I'm excited about this showcase. Thanks AMD for the opportunity to share Biostar new product concept. Today, I'm going to share our new product, Biostar Racing b650e GTQ. Here is Biostar Racing b650e GTQ Premium. As you can see, the key points of AMD's new am5 platform changed to LGA CPU socket with 1718 pins and with 2 new features for DDR5 memory and PCIe Gen 5 slot. So let's talk about what's biostar racing series. Biostar b650e GTQ is a brand new lineup of AMD's b650 chipset motherboard. It's the fourth generation of biostar AMD racing series. Before 2015, we debuted a biostar gaming series motherboard. And by the year of biostar 30th anniversary, we gave our gaming product line a new definition, racing series. Racing is a bigger concept. It brings you to the experience and enjoy the speed, not just for gaming, but for entertaining as well. Biostar Racing Series echo the spirit. The new unlimited speed Biostar Racing Series b650e GTQ motherboard has some premium components and features, just like our Racing Series slogan, beyond better racing to the future. So here's the quick preview of our b650e GTQ spec. And I know it's not very clear here, so I will just let's go back to the slides. So here are the highlights of b650e GTQ. This is the am5 socket, support am5 Ryzen 7000 series processor, and our power design is with 14 phases and 19 ampere power stage VRM solution, and dual channel DDR5 memory, 4 steam and max to 128 gigabytes, support AMD Expo and technology and XMP modules. The expansion slot, the next high generation for PCIe Gen 5 by 16 slot with iron protection. Storage support up to 2 PCIe M.2 Gen 5 by 4 and 1 PCIe M.2 Gen 4 by 4. And for the networking, we use the 2.5 G LAN and support both AMD and Intel Wi-Fi 6E wireless module. And we also have the Smart BIOS update, the easiest way to update the BIOS without processor, memory, and graphic cards. Here's the overview for our b650e GTQ. Okay, power design 14 phases, and with mostly heatsink, PCIe Gen 5 ready, AMD socket, debug LED, power connectors, dual channel, 4 SATA 3 AMD chipset here, and the debug LED informs you on the status on your boards or hardware and helps you identify any issue easily. The b650e GTQ features the digital PWM 19 ampere reductor modes and the PCIe M.2 cooling protection and the PCIe and the PCIe DDR5 and Smart BIOS update. And we also have PCIe Gen 5 slot, and we have the iron slot protection, and we also have the Vivid LED DJ. That was the software we have. And let's talking about the DDR5. So it will support AMD Expo, made of the important SMT, increase the compatibility and stability, and support dual channel and lower power consumption. And for the PCIe, it comes with the iron slot to protect the slots. And we have the PCIe Gen 5 M.2, and here's the heatsink. And let's talk about the power solution. We have the 14-phase power design. The Racing b650 GTQ features like 10 V-core phases, 2 SoC phases, and 2 MISC phases. It will make you overclock smoothly. And here, about our networking, we support the Wi-Fi 6 and BT module, and we use a 2.5 gigabyte. And here's the Smart BIOS update. It's the easiest way to update the BIOS. And here you can see here this is the USB slots. Here's the USB slot. You can just insert the USB drive, then you can push the button over here, and after like 3 to 5 seconds, the LED flash will blink and all is done. And here's the debug LED. After starting computer, the LED indicator will light up in the following orders like a DRAM, CPU, and VGA input. When the computer is, when there's something wrong, you will know that easily. And here's about the LED rock zone. You can adjust the color of the LED and change the system color by Vivid LED-J. This is the software I talked about. And we have the 5 volts LED header and 12 volt LED header. You can just adjust it, support the RGB and both ARGB. So here is the Vivid LED-J. This is my favorite part of the software. With Racing GT Evo software, you can use the Vivid LED-J to adjust and sync your customized LED light color. You will syncing yourself in the process of your personal style on board. So here's about our Racing GT Evo utility. And you can see here how there's a hardware monitor and AI fan control. Users can check CPU and system temperature more easily, ensure that their gaming PC can maintain performance and while staying cool. And for the AI fan control, users can adjust the fan speed, and for system ventilation, it supports CPU fan and system fan for more cooling options. Well, thank you for your time today. For further information, please feel free to contact Biostar. And if you are watching the showcase today, please leave a message to our direct message our Facebook fan page and tell us what you like about our b650e GTQ, and we will have some gift for you. Thank you. Back to Ryan.
Andy, thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Zach. I am Ryan's backup for this call. He's briefly dropped from the call, so I'm going to fill in until he gets back. So I want to encourage everyone at this point to go ahead and send in some questions. We're going to move into the Q&A section here. So if you haven't gotten a question in yet, or if you have a follow-up to one that you have sent in and has already been answered, go ahead and send another one through. So I think we're going to start first off. I am going to ask a question for ASUS. So first up, what type of OC options will ASUS offer?
Thanks for the question. In terms of the functionality, we did talk a little bit about that. For pretty much all the boards, they will feature that PBO enhancement feature, which we think is a great way to be able to maximize inherently the work that AMD's performance tuning team has enabled for Ryzen series CPUs. But on many models, we'll also be offering that, like I said, dynamic OC switcher technology, as well as we'll be offering that Core Flex technology. So 2 new great ways to be able to kind of further take performance even further. We will also have a very easy and accessible option within the Armor Crate software for users that want to be able to actually maintain kind of higher levels of efficiency, a little bit lower operating temperatures through essentially an eco mode, so that they can have a one-stop shop consolidation for monitoring as well as performance tuning.
Well, I'm back, so I want to thank Zach for filling in while I disappeared there for a little while. Thanks, JJ, for answering that question. I also do want to mention, I know there's been a number of kind of questions about availability and when it's going to be in market. Just want to mention October. That's when it's coming to market. No specific date quite at this minute, but it'll be here very soon. This question is for MSI. Do the MSI b650 motherboards also have the ARGB Gen 2 headers like we saw on the MSI X670 lineup. That's for you, Michael.
Yes, actually, all B650 boards are all the way up from the Pro series support ARGB Gen 2. So both the B650 and the X670 boards have it on the full lineup.
Terrific. And I'm going to spread this wealth around the room. This is a question for Gigabyte. Will all models be available for purchase when they do come on shelf?
Actually, I only have the information for the US region currently. And for launch, we will be having the b650e Aorus Master, the Aero G, the Pro AX, the Elite AX, and for the Micro ATX form factor, we'll have Elite AX and the DS3H. And for our ITX, we'll have the Aorus Ultra.
Great. So how many is that?
That's a total of 7.
A lot of them will go to market very soon. This is a question for Biostar. Where can they buy the products for Biostar? That's for you, Annie.
Okay, Mike is out. Okay, you can buy everywhere. It's like always we'll talk about that. You can buy offline in nearby computer stores, or you can go to our official website to find where to buy section. Then you will see lots of authorized online stores to buy online.
This question is kind of for everybody in the room. What are the exceptions for AM4 cooler compatibility? And I guess we'll just kind of move around the room, and I'll just kind of start with the order of presenters. JJ, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. In terms of our compatibility, of course, we do have AIO cooler solutions. Our Tough Gaming series will be cross-compatible, so AM4 and AM5 directly. And then for our Strix LC series, as well as our Ryujin series, they will offer AM5 support. We already currently are allocating on-hand buffer so that users can directly contact our service and support team to be able to go ahead and get the required adapter so that they can have AM5 optimal interoperability compatibility. And of course, upcoming product refresh will essentially incorporate those brackets in place so they won't have to follow up with us.
Great. Let's follow that up with ASRock. Do you have some comments regarding AM4 coolers and compatibility?
Yeah, I think if you guys are using the AMD standards retention module, that is those two plastic retention thing on the motherboard. If you guys are using that, it actually won't have any problems to have all those old coolers on the new AM5 motherboards. But however, if you guys are using aftermarket the coolers, something like AIO coolers or some something like Noctua, those usually have their own bracket. You guys really have to make sure that your aftermarket coolers can be compatible with AM5 platforms. Yeah. So that's kind of our general message for the cooler compatibility.
Great. And then, Michael, I'll give you an opportunity, but just before I pass it to Michael, I know we're at the top of the hour. We have a number of questions, and we're going to get to as many questions as possible. So we are going to stick around past the 11 o'clock mark. So if you do have to leave, make sure you fill out that survey. You can always come back and join us for the on-demand version and skip right to the questions. I also want to re-mention that, in the resource list, if you did previously download the deck and saw that none of the partner slides were in there, just click refresh and you should be able to see that. But don't click refresh right now because that will boot you out. So wait till the conclusion and come back to that on-demand version. All right, Michael, I'll let you answer that question regarding the AM5 coolers.
Yes, I'll keep it short then. I cannot comment on all third-party solutions that there are, but in terms of our own core liquid all-in-one coolers, actually all of them are compatible with all of our existing AM5 motherboards. So if you already have a core liquid, you can just use the AM4 mounting mechanism. That is also compatible with all of our AM5 motherboards.
And Kevin, I'll give you a chance to answer that question. Same thing.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing as everyone else, I would say. We should be compatible with most AM4 coolers. Again, as mentioned before, if you do have a very specific sort of cooler, you probably want to double check the compatibility. But in terms of our own Waterforce AIOs, we've had no issues, and yeah, AM4 should be just fine.
Annie, I'm going to give you the chance too. Compatible for the most part, yes.
Yeah, so heard about the am4 can adapt to the am5, and on our motherboard we have lots of the heatsink at the front, and we also have the heatsink in the back. So I think that will be cool. Everything will be cool.
Great. Let's go back to Asus. Which models support Asus Q release for graphics card ejection?
And that would be any one of our ROG Strix series. So the -E, the -F, or the -A, all will feature that Q release design technology. So again, just touch of a button allow you to easily eject the graphics card.
And I'll do a follow-up question since I've got you, JG, online. B650e I features opening in the I/O panel. Is there active cooling behind the shield, or is it passively cooled? And the ITX form factor, is it active cooling required? Can you kind of touch on that?
Yeah, so on the -I model, it will feature actually a supplemental VRM assist fan. We do note it as kind of a VRM assist fan just because of small form factor builds tend to be more constrained in terms of their overall thermal environment. So to be able to ensure kind of the best stability, especially if maybe there's performance tuning that's happening or different types of scenarios that may be at play that is going to be present. But the VRM and the heatsink assembly do the majority in terms of the overall thermal dissipation, and there will be options in terms of the actual UEFI in that regard, but it is there ultimately to help to just maximize the usage scenario because of the wide variance of small form factor based builds.
Let's go push it over to ASRock. Gosh, getting a lot of questions. Don't stop with the questions. We'll get to as many as possible. What controller is used for the USB 40 gigabytes per second?
Yeah, for this one, I really have to check. Yeah, for this one, I have to check it internally. Yes.
We'll get that. Hey, we don't always have the answers. No problem, Edwin. And we got another one for you. Does MATX MB come with Wi-Fi?
Yeah. For the micro ATX model, we have two. Actually, it's based on the same PCB, but it will actually have two SKUs. So that's one with Wi-Fi and without Wi-Fi. So yeah, we definitely have a Wi-Fi version for the MATX motherboard.
Great. You can get one or the other. Let's go to MSI. Let's move it over to Michael. Will the B650MA and other low-end motherboards offer full CPU support, or is there a PowerPoint limit, PPT limit due to the VRAM?
And our full lineup can also support the full lineup of Ryzen 7000 series, so all the way up from our Micro ATX Pro model that has also been thoroughly tested with the 7950X, and it can support it without any issues. It's more that if you're gonna, of course, one of the benefits of the AMD B series is that you can overclock both in the CPU and the memory. So if you're gonna do more extensive CPU overclocking, that's of course where the more powerful VRM of the higher end models comes in.
Let's go to Gigabyte. Is the Asus I'm going to pronounce that wrong. Asus Master always the best motherboard for performance and features? Help me with the pronunciation there, Kevin.
Well, I'm going to go with Aorus. You know, it is actually a little bit of a debate here when I ask around. I personally go with Aorus, but yes, regarding the Aorus Master, this is what we recommend for your high-end gaming performance, along with the most feature-rich motherboard for B650.
Terrific. Biostar, question for you. Do the debug LEDs turn on if there is a problem? Are the LEDs normally all on or all off?
Well, it should be all off and no more standards. And when you put up the computer, you will just check by DRAM and let me see, by the RAM, then and next was by the ordinary, and when it has issues, it will blinks. So when it's normal, it won't blinks.
So normal, it will not blink, and if it's not normal, it'll blink. This is another question for you. Biostar has always released a limited number of boards. What will we see for AM5? Are you guys going to have a limited number, or are you going to see more for AM5?
Well, if you want to see more AM5 models, please follow us from our Facebook page, and we will show what else are coming
All right, you got it there. Go to the Facebook group. We've also got a link to the YouTube channel and the resource list. Let's keep going with some of these questions. I'll move up to the top of the list. What type of fan controls do you offer, JJ?
Yeah, so we offer our Fan Expert software. That's actually available to you within the UEFI environment, so you can run fan calibration and profiling within the UEFI environment. Of course, also now for this generation, we are now incorporating our fan controls within our Armory Crate software suite. So similarly, you can go ahead and do fan calibration and profiling, also temperature input mapping, which would also include using your GPU as a resource for the actual fan ramping. So if you want to drop in, your 6750 XT on one of these boards, then you could go ahead and map it to that temperature point and have your fans respond to the GPU as opposed to the CPU. So that's a nice level of flexibility to be able to supplement on top of standard fan control functionality.
I think this one's, everyone can answer kind of the same with this, but I'll have, it was directed towards ASRock. So Edwin, does the USB 4 compatible with Thunderbolt devices? I think that's an overwhelming.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And I think that's with everyone, right? Is there no one that's everybody? Right, JJ? Right, Michael? Yep.
That'd be the same for us. And again, if any users do want to be able to take advantage of Thunderbolt 4, for ASUS, we're doing it through our Thunderbolt 4 expansion card. So any of the ATX-based boards that we showed, you just have to take advantage of our Thunderbolt EX adding card, connect it to the header, and you're good to go.
I'll direct this one to MSI, and Michael.
Also, sorry.
Ahead,
that's also the same story for our motherboard, for the ASRock boards. Yeah.
Go ahead, Kevin. Mike, I got a question for you, so you can answer that too. How many PCB layers do the MSI b650 motherboards have? And maybe you could just talk about compatible.
Yeah, depends per model. So our ATX and micro ATX b650 models have a 6-layer PCB, and a mini ITX Edge model has a 10-layer PCB. And for our X670 models, it's 8-layer PCB for all of them, apart from the Godlike. That one also has a 10-layer PCB.
And in follow up with you, what are the supported memory speeds on MSI b650 motherboards?
So for our Pro and our MAG models, it's 6400 megahertz, and for the MPG models, so that is Carbon, ATX Edge, and Mini ITX Edge, it's 6600 megahertz. Official support.
And since I'm going to kind of go around the room with this question, is there a model that is focused on creator, or is this strictly all kind of focused on gaming? I'll start with you, Michael. I mean, a lot of these could be used, could be good for all creator.
Yeah, indeed. So we have our segmentation, and our MEG, MPG, MAG models are all targeted at gaming, and then we have our Pro series model, and those are for business usage and content creation.
Do you want to kind of answer that too, Kevin? Is that do you have models that are focused on the creator creator focus too?
Yes, we do. It's this white one right next to me, and it's going to be our Aero line. So things that we think make it stand out a little bit more for creators is going to be something like a Type-C port, which can support drawing tablets with 20 volt and 3 amp power delivery. It supports RAID 0, 1, and 10. And it has a Thunderbolt 4 header on the board over there. And we think, all these combined with the different sort of aesthetic kind of set it apart and make it kind of a more versatile choice for content creators.
I like the differentiation in style. Annie, do you want to talk on which ones for Biostar are creator focused?
Yeah,
Do you have you, Annie?
Do you have me?
Yep, we hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, okay. I think it's unlimited for our product, and b650e GTQ is not limited for gaming. I think it also can be adapted for the creator.
And let's go to JJ and then follow that with Edwin to give him a chance to kind of tell us what models are maybe focused towards that creator. JJ, you want to start?
So we do offer core segmentation, similarly designed, for creators, for gamers. But the reality is that the boards, I think, ultimately speak to whatever the user is going to want to do. So any one of our motherboards could, of course, be adapted for a user that's going to have more prosumer professional pursuits. If they want maybe more expansion support, more USB ports, whatever it might be. We do specifically do have a ProArt creator board that will be actually shown off shortly. And then, of course, we also did already show off the Prime series. But again, any one of the motherboards would be able to be offering you a foundation for productivity and for creation endeavors.
I always love these questions, and we'll stick with you, JJ. Or actually, I didn't get a chance. Edwin, just going back to you really quick, which boards are creator focused for you all?
Yeah, so for ASRock, I think it will be our Taichi series. That will be including the b650e Taichi and also the x670e Taichi and Taichi Carrera. Actually, we don't actually have a sort of creator focus on motherboard for our am5 platform, but actually the reason why I recommend Taichi is because it has a lot of I/O, and it's powerful enough, and also supporting the Thunderbolt technology. So yeah, Taichi series will definitely be the motherboard for the creators.
I'll keep it with you, Edwin, and maybe you could just talk a little bit about, how did you all, when the engineering teams, how did they all decide for the different features that they wanted to put into the motherboard?
Well, that actually based on the sort of the on the market. We also based on the every segment what usually this segment the user wants. So it's kind of a mixed discussion between our engineering team, our sales team, and also our product management team. But in the end, I think it also have to sort of circle back to what user really wants. So yeah,
Michael,
it's sort of a lengthy decision. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the fun things with our different partners is seeing what you all come up with. Michael, could you maybe talk to that? I know this was a fun question that we did for our last Meet the Experts. So how did you decide which features to put into each board?
We'll always carefully look, of course, at what kind of features does the CPU offer, and then within our segmentation, we decide what will be a logical feature for which model. This, for example, also why we didn't have a mini ITX model for X670, because X670, we believe it offers so much in terms of I/O, but just can simply not fit it on a mini ITX motherboard. So that's why we took b650 for a mini ITX motherboard. Of course, within pricing, you also take a look at, do you want to offer PCI Express Gen 5? Does it make sense? Because, of course, PCI Express devices will be more expensive as well. So do you want to have that on your most entry-level models? And that's how you kind of try to balance it and offer something for each segment.
Yeah, it's that balancing act besides all the great features and also making sure that you get it into the right price point for everything. Kevin, could you maybe just speak to the features that you all included and how you guys came up with that?
Sorry. Well, it is a collaborative effort between all the teams. Some of them mentioned before, it's like the PM team, the engineering team, the R&D team, sales team. And of course, we try to incorporate as much of like user feedback that we can. And a lot of that is going to come from suggestions that we get from, it could be any sort of social media, that we get contacted on. And a lot of times it's going to be a lot of feedback we get from our sales teams as well, and what they're kind of getting from their customers that they want to see on our boards and features. And that's how we kind of work it in, based on the different tier of board and what it's meant for, as well as, sorry, I lost that last train of thought, but yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've been quite busy, right? With it's not very often that we launch a new motherboard, so I know it's been a very busy few months for all of you. But it's exciting to see those features that you put into it. Annie, I'll give you an opportunity to answer that question regarding the different features that biostar decided to include into their motherboards. Do we have you, Annie?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay. My favorite part is still about the LED rack zone and the Vivid LED DJ software. I think everyone will be they'll not just enjoy the gaming, not just about the speed, but they also enjoy the atmosphere in their room, in their office, or anywhere else. So, I think personally, I think the best part for the gamers. Personally, I love the lights.
Love the lights. You heard it there. Let's give JJ you an opportunity to answer that question regarding the different features.
Yeah, so I think that we maintain a very interesting perspective in this regard, being, really a worldwide leader in so many different spaces, right? So we really take an extensive level of feedback, not only from our community of users through active community polling and through surveys, and ownership kind of inquiries, but also looking really at the specifications that are broadly implemented across the industry. So we can look to our laptop solutions, our mini PC solutions. We can look to actually our comprehensive networking portfolio. And this helps us to actually kind of complement and align the specifications as we're integrating them on the board. If we see that we're pushing out, a broad set of specifications like 2.5 gig networking or 10G, Wi-Fi 6E, right, which we're leaders in those spaces, makes sense to also make sure that we align that with the motherboard product. Also looking at industry trends, right? ISP partners are ramping out multi-gigabit based services. So again, it makes sense to be able to implement specifications that align with those standards. And similarly, I think the most important part is how can we best leverage what you guys at AMD are doing from the chipset perspective. So if the chipset is affording you flexibility to have a higher level of I/O, and we see that as being maybe one of the number one points of feedback on why users want to adopt a motherboard, then we want to commit to, let's say, add more USB, which is, as I noted, the baseline requirement here for all of our ATX-based boards is at least 8 ports, and we're going all the way up to the highest end boards, which is at least 12 ports, right? Which is quite a bit of an upgrade compared to prior generations.
And we'll keep it here with you, JJ, and then we're going to kind of close things out. I'll end with an AMD question regarding AMD technology and that one-click overclocking. What does that mean for these motherboards, JJ? Could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I think AMD has been really committed to, of course, the kind of the performance-oriented community, right? And I think there's been a fantastic job to really be able to give a great deal of performance out of box. So the reality is that you don't need to enable PBO or overclock Ryzen to be able to get an extremely performant experience, right? It's extremely impressive. They've really done a great job from that perspective. But for users that do want to be able to kind of take it to that next level, there's the granularity and controls that are being afforded through the AGISA to be able to elevate performance further, and in different ways, right? If you're liking to try to tune towards efficiency and for frequency, take advantage of the curve optimizer, right? If you're looking to be able to have maybe a little bit more of an optimized experience relative to your cooling solution in the board, then we've got those things like PBO enhancement. And really for those nitty and gritty kind of tweakers and tuners enthusiasts, then we've got things like the dynamic OC switcher technology or the Core Flex, right? Which really allows you to, I think, leverage the strengths of the way that the dynamic architecture is designed in terms of clock boosting. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's a really great level of granularity and control, and it's been great to be able to offer these functions on our boards. And I think the most important part here, right, is that you're maintaining this even on the entry-level based chipsets and the mid-range based chipsets, and not just XX70 or XX70e. So it's a great opportunity for builders and for enthusiasts.
Great, thanks, JJ. And we'll give everyone an opportunity, and then I'm going to close things out. So Edwin, maybe you could just talk a little bit about the compatibility with the AMD Expo technology and kind of that overclocking, and maybe some of the other final features that you want to mention before we let everybody go.
So on ASRock motherboard, actually every AM5 motherboard will be supporting Expo technology, the DRAM-OC. I think this is for the first time. We are actually very excited about the AMD platform. So, and also the overclocking part, just like JC just said, the PBO enable and disable. I think the AMD 7000 series processor actually very powerful from right out of the box. So in our internal testing, the PBO enable, you will see performance gain, but really not that not that significant. So for me, I would just suggest if you are not that kind of user that you want to tweak everything and you want to push everything to the limit, you can just use the default setting. It will give you a very, very powerful for the PC platform. And lastly, for the features, I think you really want to mention is for every for all of our AM5 motherboard, that's including eSKU and non-eSKU, we'll be supporting the latest PCIe Gen 5 M.2. So this is to give you already have a best processor for your system, and also you can plug in the latest faster M.2 SSD, to give the best performance out of your system. Thank you.
Lots of fives. DDR5, PCI5, PCIe5. Well, thanks, Edwin. Let's skip over to Annie. Annie, do you just maybe want to give a quick little mention of how AMD Expo technology is compatible with the biostar, and then what sort of features you'd like to mention before you go? Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Do we have you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Good, thanks. Well, we have.
I had to quote Michael Jackson there. So go ahead, Annie.
Okay. In our BIOS, we have the utility you can set up for the AMD Expo, and you have the AI control to do all the things. Yeah.
And any features you want to mention before we go?
Well, I think everyone knows about biostar. We have been improved for many years, and we are doing our best to fit everyone's needs. So stay tuned with biostar. We will do better. Racing to the future.
Racing to the future. Let's go with Kevin,
Yeah.
and then we'll wrap things up with Michael. So Kevin, could you just maybe talk about the AMD Expo technology with Gigabyte and your last little feature that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, sure. So, AMD Expo, we think it's great. Paired with the new am5 CPUs, you really have a very simple way to get the most performance out of your system, right? You have PBO, you have AMD Expo, you can set your profiles very easily, you can boost your CPU really easily, and then when you pair it with our Gigabyte kind of utilities, you have DDR5 Auto Booster, DDR5 Auto Booster, we have Active OC Tuner on our end. So really, with just a few clicks of your mouse in your BIOS, you're extracting every bit of performance you can. And one thing, I guess the last thing I do want to highlight is on our motherboards, we do have basically a shielded area for your DDR5 memory, and it kind of protects your signal integrity and make sure you have the fastest performance possible.
Well, thanks for joining us, and let's wrap things up with Michael with MSI. Michael, maybe you could just give us your little take on AMD Expo technology and your final feature before we go.
Yeah, my cat actually joined the party. So let me toss that one aside first. Yeah, of course, AMD Expo, very nice technology, very easy way to overclock your memory. Also, definitely check out our QVLs for our different motherboard models. It's our qualified vendor list. You can see exactly which models were tested with AMD Expo technology. So you already know beforehand whether or not a certain kit will work properly with the motherboard you're eyeing. Another nice feature I'd like to highlight is, of course, we talked a lot about overclocking already, but I think you guys as AMD already did a very good job on maxing out the performance of the Ryzen 7000 series. But on the other hand, I think it is very nice also to talk about the options for underclocking and undervolting to get maximum efficiency of your system. So for example, if you're into small form factor systems, this can be very interesting. And actually within our precision boost overdrive settings in our BIOS, we have the option to set a thermal throttle limit. And that's actually a very nice way, for example, setting your thermal throttle limit to 75 degrees Celsius. It will increase the efficiency of your CPU a lot, and it will automatically adjust your voltages and stuff with it. So it's a very easy way to make your processor very, very efficient.
Well, Michael, I appreciate you joining, and I did mention that we didn't have your mascot joining earlier, but it looks like we gained a different mascot, your cat. So I do want to thank all of our partners for joining today. I'm going to close things out. So thank you to our partners. I love doing these Meet the Experts. They're unique. So again, I do want to encourage everybody to take a look at our resource list. You'll see right there on screen the AMD resources there, but we have a ton of other resources in there from each of our partners. But I want to encourage you to check those out. We have an AMD Arena course specific to AM5 motherboards where you can learn all about kind of what goes in, what's behind the engineering with these. So I encourage you to check those out. And I always like to mention our partner hub. It's your opportunity to stay up to date with all of the latest marketing materials. AMD, our partner hub, is where you can get everything with AMD, a deeper expertise, including on-demand access to everything AMD, including our tools, resources that you need to sell AMD products at our digital library. Of course, our incentivized learning program, AMD Arena, where you can learn, earn, and win prizes. And of course, us, AMD Meet the Experts, where you can find this on demand, and of course, join us live. And then I encourage you all to subscribe to our partner newsletter, where everything gets delivered right to your inbox in multiple languages. So check out the AMD Partner Hub, which is located there in the resource list. Again, thank you all for joining this Meet the Experts. Don't forget to fill out the survey, which will pop up on your screen at the conclusion of this broadcast. If you started filling it out, go ahead and submit that now. And I want to encourage you all to join our upcoming Meet the Experts, which are there on screen. And then you can take a look at the Meet the Experts page in that resource list and be able to see all of our upcoming Meet the Experts, or just subscribe to the newsletter and get it delivered right to your inbox. Anyhow, a big thank you to all of our partners, and thanks to all of you for joining. I will see you at the next AMD Meet the Experts. Until then, have a great day. Goodbye.